Chuggaaconroy. I just wanted to show you that I beat boss battles on very hard with a Toon Link.
What's going on, guys? This is Chuggaaconroy, and I'm actually I'm gonna do my first LP ever. This is one of my favorite games, personally. This is Earthbound.
Chuggaaconroy.
I'm gonna say like touching something, and the first word that came out was myself.
Once family-friendly and wholesome Nintendo YouTuber was exposed a couple months ago for being a complete sexual deviant, right? Allegedly. However, he made this response that, turned everything on its head, right? The whole internet is siding with him. One problem. He managed to get away with lying about the worst of these allegations. That being flirting and having sexual roleplay with a 15-year-old while he was 19 in 2010. This situation actually parallels the Pyro Ivory situation pretty heavily. That being a 15-year-old having sexual erotic roleplay with a 19-year-old. Only problem is, this is way worse, because he not only flirts with her outside of the roleplay, constantly talks about how she has a crush on him, knows her age, obtains pictures of her face and her in cosplay, sexualizes her in cosplay, keeps in contact over 10 years later, and then admits to her that he has feelings for her over a decade after the fact. I don't throw around this word lightly, but this is textbook grooming. This is literally the definition of grooming. In this video, I seek to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that Chugga is in the wrong in this situation and should not have a platform. This video is going to be split into 3 sections. Now, in this initial one, we're going to be only focusing on the original DMs between him and the 15-year-old that happened in 2010. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Trying to strike a chord, and it's probably A minor.
Alright, so these initial messages are actually pretty tame. They're pretty standard, fan-creator interaction, just with a little bit of cancerous 2010 lingo sprinkled in for good measure. Alright, so next up we got the "I'm going to rape you" line. So this was setting the context of them talking about how they rape their songs and how they, they just listen to the same song like a fucking 1,000 times or some shit. Okay, so the "I'm going to rape you" line at first seems pretty fucking insane, right? But this was a popular meme at the time, and a lot of this kind of lingo we can just attribute to 2010 edginess.
You are a fucking piece of shit! I'm going to...
Alright, so this is when he finds out that she's 15. Now, any other adult, in my opinion, any other sane adult, as soon as they would find out that this person who's actually 15 that they've been making dark, kind of fucked up, dirty jokes with, they would immediately cut contact. Or just be like, hey, I'm sorry for what I said, and then kind of maybe like steer the conversation away from anything like that going in the future, right? No. They actually escalate after this, and it gets way worse. Alright, so then they start talking about computer shit or whatever, and the conversation shifts to his channel, and he's like, oh, so you just watch me for my sexy voice? And she's like, correct. Ding, 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 ding. And he's like, oh, I was just kidding though. Regardless if you're joking or not, if she reciprocates to this statement, I don't care how autistic you could be literally Stephen Hawking, you could literally be a complete fucking like brain dead individual, you shut this down. As an adult, you shut this down instantly. And he claims that he did shut things down eventually with her, but this is a clear example of like, no, you did not. And this is already when you know her age. So she's actually saying that she's concerned about how forward and creepy she sounds, right? And then he's like, oh, don't worry about a thing. And he says, I understand your little quashy-washy. What? So, okay, everybody's like making excuses for him being autistic and saying that he didn't understand what was going on. He's saying right here that he knows that she likes him. Okay, just to put this in perspective of how fast this whole thing escalated, they started talking at 7:15, and the quashy-washy message is at 8:27. An hour and 12 minutes. Okay, this is the beginning of all the foot fetish shit. They're talking about how she's short, right, and he's tall, and how he's gonna foot rest her, right? He's gonna put his feet on her, right? And he actually lied in his response to all these allegations and said that she actually started the foot fetish shit. This is basically as blatant of a lie that you can make. He's specifically referencing these tickle messages, right? There's no interpretation of this that paints her as the initiator of the foot stuff. He states here that she originated it. Not that she could have. He doesn't speculate, but he states that she definitively originated the foot fetish stuff. And then in his apology, he backtracks and said, oh, I'm sorry for speculating. No, you stated this as fact. The next lie we gotta talk about is how he claims that he distanced himself from her after she sent him a shirt for his birthday, right? And that his mom was like, oh, this is inappropriate, and that he agreed, right? But the problem is, he responds to this message with, oh yeah, I did enjoy the gift, right? It was actually his mom that was the main proponent of him gradually distancing himself from her, not him, right? So past this point in these messages, she's usually the one after, maybe a month or two, maybe half a month, to, pick up the conversation again, right? And I will give credit to him, like, okay, yes, he did gradually distance himself, but every time she reached out to him, they were just right back at it. Right back at it with the fucking flirting, right back at it with the sexual roleplay. And this is the common theme, he knows that she's underage. He knows it's wrong, clearly. That's, like, we know, because he said, like, oh, Jesus. As soon as she said that she was 15, he's like, oh, shit, right? But he can't stop himself. Over and over and over again. There's so many more examples we're going to go through. As soon as we're done with those, we're going to talk about the community response and get more into the weeds of his response, but let's just take a look at more of these DMs.
Of course, oh, and here's my sword. Don't go through the others, you might see my cheeks.
Love the cheeks making one eye visible. And which cheeks are we talking?
It's even funnier, because I had a panty shot up, but it got removed.
I don't get why. It's your own private album to show only to people you want to see. You should be able to have whatever the fuck you want on there.
I know, right? And the fairest part, I have pictures from the beach on that album, like it shows more nudity than a panty shot, and they're still up. And yes, my nickname is Lolly.
Hey, with your cosplays you really are a lolly.
Now, these messages right here are, in my opinion, some of the most damning out of any of them, because they're not role-playing, they're not talking about, some fictional fantasy scenario. She is showing pictures of herself, right? And he is literally flirting back with her and comparing her to drawn CP, right? So the context of the first message is she's talking about how she just got back from a surgery and she's hyped up on pain meds and her face is all swollen and whatever, right? And then he asks for pictures, which she obviously complies to because she's a huge fan of his. And she even talks about how there were pictures on this photo album that the website that they were hosted on took down because they were so illicit. But there's even more illicit content on that photo album that they didn't take down. And he's like, yeah, they shouldn't take down this content at all. It's your own photos. That's CP! There is CP on this album! And his response is just like, oh, I can't believe they would take that down. That's so wrong of them. What? The only way he gets out of this is if the private album she's referencing is the one that she shared with him that includes her face and the cosplay pictures. Or when she says that she has pictures from the beach on that album and that how it shows more nudity than a panty shot, if that's other people on the beach instead of her. But from what it looks like it's her, in my opinion. That's what I interpret this to be, and I think that's what anybody else could interpret this to be as well. Around a month after they start talking, he makes these insane remarks about how she likes him, right? Over and over and over again. All of these messages are basically in quick succession, right? And I just really have to ask, dude, it doesn't seem like you're very uncomfortable in these messages. It seems like you're actually very comfortable with the fact that a 15-year-old likes you. And she's actually insisting that she doesn't. That, she likes somebody else, right? But he just keeps going over and over and over again, dude. Like, he's like, oh, you are into me, you're into me. This is flirting. This is literally flirting. He's the creepy one here, undoubtedly. Oh, and you thought you would get away with rewriting history, huh? You said right here that you rejected them. You say that you rejected them and cut all contact. It looks like they actually rejected you, buddy. Looks like they friend-zoned you. You just got friend-zoned by a 15-year-old. What a fucking liar, dude. What a weaselly little liar, dude. You guys wanna know what he says after she friend-zones him? Alright, well if you guessed whatever the hell this is, you'd be right. I'm not even gonna read this out because it's so putrid and disgusting. You cannot say this to a child. Okay, so this all ties back into the most compelling part of his response, which is when he says, I didn't want to hurt or abuse you with an unfair relationship, so regardless, it was a hard no for me at the time. And then she responds 10 years later, right, this is in 2021, she responds with, honestly, as an adult, I can appreciate that you set that boundary, right? And on its face, it's like, okay, this is the end of everything, right? This kills the entire situation, except it's based on a lie. He never said no. He never outright said no. This is just a flat out lie, and he's just rewriting the situation and she believes him because she also has a hazy memory from this whole situation. I'm gonna do some speculation here. This is just a game theory, but in my opinion, I think at some point in time, he went back and read these messages, or at least was remembered about them somehow and realized how terrible they sounded, right? So he needed to kind of plant a seed into her mind that it was actually not that bad and that he rejected her. But I guess it didn't work because she probably went back to these messages too and then realized how awful they were and how he lied about ending communication. Okay, so the next big thing we need to talk about is how he actually comes out in 2021 about having feelings for her, right? This is huge. So he says, "You won't be bothered by how I feel about you, right? Oh, if you want to talk my feelings, I'm happy to answer any questions. I think that's fair if you don't return how I feel and are coming to another country for me." And then she friend zones him again. Absolutely brutal. I'm completely of the opinion that if she didn't friend zone him twice, they would have completely met up eventually and had sex. Whether they're adults and he was grooming her, whether she was still a child, it's completely fucked in either scenario. And him confessing his feelings for her after she's an adult makes it not too far off to think that he might have had feelings for her when she was a child as well. All right, so a little fun fact that we got here, a little side course, if you will. She actually talks about how she liked an 18-year-old guy at this time while she was talking to Chugga. The thing is, when she told him that he was pissed that she sent him the plushie, he was like, "Oh, I'm a legendary Pokemon. He's a regular Pokemon." What? You are directly making a comparison, an argument to why she should like you instead.
Oh my dear grandma, you freaky as hell.
And people are gonna be like, "Oh, he was joking, he was joking." What's the joke about? The joke is about how a 15-year-old should like the 19-year-old instead of the 18-year-old. You can't joke about that with a child. You can joke about that in the context of just, palling around with your friends or making jokes, not making that joke to the child themselves. There's the undertones of like, yes, you should agree. Like, yes, I'm better than him. Like, be with me instead. I'm perfectly okay with pedophilia jokes, but you can't make a pedophilia joke to a child because then we don't know if you're joking or not. And if you are joking, that's still creepy. He also lied about how he met her 10 years later at a convention, which is just hilarious because, it was 2020, 21, 22, no conventions were open, it was COVID. Because of this, I'm a lot more prone to believe Lolly's story instead of his because either he just completely forgot the dates and how time works, or he was just trying to misconstrue the truth and make it look like they hadn't spoken for 10 years, when for one, that's obviously a lie because the Discord messages start in 2017 and they already pick up a conversation that was already happening because, she's like, "Oh, whoopsies," right? She wouldn't just message her out of the blue and say whoopsie. So they definitely did communicate beforehand. Like, we just don't know the extent of their communication before the Discord screenshots. So what he wants us to believe is that the messages completely cut off where they do in her original documents. He gets this point through by misconstruing what she said and claiming that she said that they abruptly stopped talking. But what she actually said is that the messages keep going after those last logs and that she just didn't save them. All right, so now we gotta talk about the insane community backlash to these allegations and how everybody out of the fucking sun just came out of the woodworks to support this guy from nowhere. They literally came from their fucking underground hideouts, fucking Patrick Star ass lair to just be like, he was innocent. Look at some of these comments, dude. These chicks don't deserve any mercy. They are only apologizing for being caught. They tried to ruin the public image of a sweet, innocent dude. A sweet, innocent dude? Okay, buddy, last I checked, saying this kind of stuff to a child is not the characteristics of a sweet and innocent individual. And then we got this guy over here. Contact was never cut off. Girl, 1 to 2 messages a year or month is clearly him distancing himself. Hey, buddy, we don't know what happened in the Skype messages. And 2, yes, he did stop reaching out to her in the logs, but every time she reached out to him, he would say even more insane shit. Because the worst of these logs are the second half. After his birthday, after he's already 20 years old, and after he claims he cut contact completely, right? That's just a blatant lie. You're literally coping. The worst kind of people are the ones who think they are different and quirky, to post life-ruining allegations for clout and attention, then pull a shocked face with the consequences of their... I can't even read this whole thing. Like, you're literally restarted, bro. For clout and attention, she's anonymous. What clout? What attention? She's literally anonymous. She had her friend post all this for her. Are you dead? Like, are you actually dumb? I'm astounded that you're even breathing right now. I'm astounded that your body is even functioning at this current point in time.
Oh, no. You see, the child porn, it was just a goof. It was just for laughs, you know? Why aren't you laughing?
I was immensely disappointed when I found out that the majority of YouTubers just completely cleared this guy's name as soon as he made his response. I'm not surprised when fans of this guy just make completely idiotic statements, but when YouTubers co-opt those statements and, you know, clear his name, it just really pisses me off, considering the fact that I could barely find anybody who read the original document, who read Lolly's original document. The only person that I found who actually dived more in depth, they didn't even read the whole thing, but Lyrics actually read a lot of those messages instead of just the 4 screenshots attached, because almost every single YouTuber who made a video on this situation only read the 4 attached screenshots and not like the 40 pages of logs on the Gaia form. But this is insane! The least you can do is just read the original document in full. That's your job. If you're gonna make a video on the situation, you have to read the most substantial messages in their entirety. You can't just skip over the original allegation and just read these 4 screenshots and then just go ahead and paint her as the initiator of everything. I want to highlight a specific guy who made a video about this whole situation, this guy Gamma. He made a 30-minute video about all the allegations, basically. He starts with the, you know, less severe ones, which, you know, that's fine, right? They're basically nothing burgers. And then he spends 20 minutes on the lolly ones, except he literally only covers those 4 screenshots that were attached. He doesn't actually go into any of the other insane messages throughout that document and only focuses on those. And then he just, you know, he's a proponent of the whole, oh, it was just 2010 edgy humor, guys. And then he also goes on to claim that none of the foot messages that he sent were sexual. Are you fucking kidding me?
As for Lolly finding it weird, even she states that she didn't find it uncomfortable until just recently when she looked back at it with all the recent connotations. So for the foot stuff, it's just something that was used by these individuals to paint him negatively because they knew that the general consensus would be that it's weird and implied that it was inherently sexual, which isn't provable by any means, which isn't provable by any means, which isn't provable by any means, which isn't provable by any means.
Yo, is this person fucking retarded?
Yes.
I feel like the statement is very loaded. Despite the time frame that Conroy has mentioned to have not been in contact with Lolly not been accurate, I feel like at this point it's sort of a weak argument because despite that, the information being presented by both individuals in this case appears to line up pretty smoothly regardless of time and consistency. Not to mention, it may very well be the case that he misremembered brief points in time both parties communicated because as he mentions, he didn't really communicate with her all that much past the gift incident.
Oh yeah, dude, there's not much left after the gift incident. You know, just forget the 9 more pages of messages that they have. Are you kidding me? This guy did 0 research on the original document. He only looked at the responses. And then he just took everything that fucking Chugga said that Lolly didn't contest at face value. Also, he understands that Chugga, you know, could have misremembered something about the logs. How could he have misremembered? All of the dates are available. It's not like he is just going off memory. There is literal proof for everything here, dates included. What do you mean he misremembered? There's no way that he got the 10-year thing wrong on accident. All he had to do was just look at the first Discord message and see the date and see that it was 2017, not 2020. Oh yeah, and then he has this fucking hilarious comments. He says, I genuinely do the best out of anyone in the commentary scene right now in condensing information and summarizing it without leaving too much out. If I or anyone for that matter would type out an explanation for you, you wouldn't read it, since there's 3 different stories to tell, and it would be far too long to explain in a comment. Yeah, get off your high horse, bud. He didn't do a single picosecond of research into her original document. Let this video serve as an open letter to anybody who wants to debate me on this. My Discord is _blaster. It's on the screen right now. I will happily talk to Gamma on Tom's stream or just in private. I want anybody's best arguments in this entire situation. I want my mind to be changed. It's gonna be hard. You guys are gonna have to do a hell of a lot of proving and a lot less glazing. All right, go follow my Twitter and peace out.